I'm shaking my paint can, I'm shaking my paint can, I'm shaking my paint can, cause it needs to be shook up. I'm shaking my paint can, I'm shaking my paint can, I'm shaking my paint can, cause it needs to be shook up. Cause if it wasn't shook up, it wouldn't do what it's supposed to do, don't you know? So it gotta be, I get it shook up real good, let's go. Woo-hoo. That's my paint can, happy dance, shake up, sit down song. There. Oh. What I do a lot of times when I'm painting is I squirt the paint right in the paint cap, and then I stick a brush in there and I paint it. And when I get through, I squirt the top little part here with some carburetor cleaner to clean off whatever's in there. And yeah, that's what I do. See, that's what it looks like right now, and I'm going to paint that part right in there. And after I paint this, I'll take a cloth and I'll wipe it off so the Cragar part will show. You know, that's still a little wet. Maybe I ought to wait before I paint that. I want the part under the Cragar part to be painted, but I don't want the letters to be painted. Let's see. Maybe I can get that dry enough to paint. Let's try it. Let's try it, see what happens. Oh, the joy. Hey, that came out pretty good. So when I painted it, I painted the whole everything inside of that, and then I just wiped the rag across, and that wiped the paint off the letters. I think that's good enough. I'll go do the next one. That was quick too, wasn't it? Just lickety split. Yeah, buddy. Lickety split. Pretty good. Good enough. Let's go do the other one. These wheels are not so very perfect, but you know, I'm willing to bet they are. I'd be willing to bet they've been around since the 70s. How old would that make them? 30? 54 years old? Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me if they was over 50 years old. One thing about these old Cragars though, they hold up well. I've seen some aluminum wheels deteriorate, and I'm talking about like, my other favorite type of wheel was the old style Americans, or you know, some people call them torque thrusts, because back in the old days they was, when they first came out, they was just Americans, you know, and then there was old style Americans because they made new style Americans, and then they started calling them torque thrust. And you can still buy torque thrust American wheels, and they're made basically on the same principle, but not always out of the same material. And of course nowadays they make like big old 16, 17-inch wheels and all that. Back in the old days, 14s and 15s was about all you'd ever, well, that's all we had back in those days. We didn't have them big fat wheels like we got now. Like everybody running on their new cars. Running all that rubber, all that much rubber. Yeah, I like that. Okay, I've got one more to go. I guess I talk a lot about the old days. I was out here the other day talking about old days, old cars, and kind of like the I don't know what's the word, history of hot rods maybe, or something like that. How old hot rods come into being and all. But I was around back then, and I lived it. I lived through all of that. I remember the first time a vintage car, street rod, sold for $10,000, and it was a big deal. They wrote up this big article in the Street Rod magazine, and they were saying, "Remember this, because after this, the prices are going to go through the roof, and there'll come a time when people can't afford these cars." And guy was more or less mourning a time period that was coming when kids like me wouldn't be able to afford the kind of cars that we had. And he was right. I had a '67 Camaro I sold for $300, $350, and I had a '62 Corvette I sold for $300. And back in the day, that's what they was bringing, But now you can't buy one. You can't afford one. Normal person can't. That's how it goes, though. One of these days, some of these things we got is going to be worth something, and some won't. A lot of people don't think that vintage cars are going to be worth anything, because they think people are going to go with electric cars. But I suspect what'll probably happen is, as time progresses, they'll probably figure out how to put electric motors and running gears in the old cars, and they'll still want the classic bodies. They'll just be probably repowering them to something else, not gas burners. Or they may develop gas burners to be more efficient. I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. I just know that I won't be a part of it for too much longer. Nobody gets to live too long, and sometimes when I take a look at the world, I'm not disappointed in that. Nope, not a bit. Alrighty, I'm going to stop talking now. I love y'all. Appreciate you hanging out with me. Hope you have a good day, and I'll check with you next time. See ya. My camera's got to where it don't turn off.